Welcome to another Roots of the Heartland video. It took me quite a long time to manage to get this done. We just had Passover here in Israel. It's been a busy time, and I am very excited to take you to another beautiful spot here in the Shomron. As you can see around, it's just beautiful flowers, beautiful blooming right now. This bush just smells like honey, and it's actually full of bees, and I just enjoy hearing the birds, and I just enjoy being here. And so I want you to follow me as I'm going to show you something about barley.
Roots of the Heartland, a new inspiring series from CFOIC. Let's see the Bible come alive through our deep connection to the land.
Come. Just on our way to see the barley, I want to point out to you the oats, the wild oats. All these yellow, tall grass blades are now empty of their seeds, but they are oats, yeah. So let's talk about barley. What is barley to you? It turns out that barley is one of the oldest cultivated grain in the world, and one of the oldest human foods in the world, before wheat even. And archaeological digs have shown that it was cultivated already about 10,000 years ago. So very biblical grain. It has very much a significance in the history of agriculture and then in the Bible. Now in Samaria, in the Shomron, it pops up wild, and here I picked some for you. You can see the green one is unripe and the yellow one is ready for harvest. Barley then comes from the area of the Fertile Crescent, which Israel is part of, and it was a very important staple crop, both for humans and for animals actually. They would typically plant it in autumn and harvest it in spring, and therefore it was one of the first foods that came to be supplied after winter and was something that people came to rely on. Very important grain. Now, barley has such a connection to redemption in the sense that in Exodus 9, when the people of Israel are going through the 10 plagues, it says that when the hail happened, the barley was ripe and was destroyed. So it tells us that it was in early spring, basically. And then after God took out the Israelites of Egypt and gave the laws for the sacrifice for Passover, apart from the lamb, one of the things that had to be brought to the temple was the offering of the first fruit, and that is specifically barley. It just specifically determines when is the month of Nisan, which is Passover, and the offering that had to be brought. Alright, now, very interesting point. We all know culturally, whether you were Christians or not, the story in the Christian scriptures where Jesus multiplied the bread and the fish. Now, if you paid attention to the text, you might remember that it says it was barley bread. All right? But there is a similar miracle happening in the Hebrew scriptures, in the Hebrew Bible, in the book of Kings, where Prophet Elijah multiplies barley bread to feed 100 men. How curious is that? And these two miracles are one of the reasons why barley is a symbol of provision from above and humility. Our next occurrence of barley is in the book of Ruth, where, as you know the story, she goes to glean grain in the corners of the field of Boaz, and Boaz was a wealthy, respected man, and she was in need of provision, and it turns out that it was a barley field. And that's the beginning of their relationship together. And this is again a story of survival and provision from above. What's more, barley was often used for trade, and it was often used for salary for poor workers and laborers. You would get paid in barley, so you would literally get paid your sustenance. Okay, now for a prophetic aspect. In the book of Ezekiel, chapter 4, God gives Ezekiel instructions to bake a special kind of bread. It contains a few grains, but one of them is barley. And he says to the prophet, you are to make this bread and you are to cook it on human feces. To which the prophet replies, I've never eaten anything unclean. I've never defiled myself. Nothing has ever entered my mouth that's not supposed to. He really didn't want to do this. And God right away said, fine, now you're going to cook it on cow dung. And this was meant to be a prophetic announcement of the hardships that the Israelites would endure during the time of exile. And there you have again, this, it's a prophetic connection, but it's also survival and again provision from above. Everything comes from above. Now for a little bit of interesting information about day-to-day use of barley. It wasn't just a grain that people would grind and turn into a flour or cook or roast and then cook. It turns out it was used in quite a bit of recipes. For example, one of the records we have is people would put barley grains into wine to help it sour. I'm very curious as to how it would affect the taste, but that was very interesting. They would also make barley beer. I think that's the easy one to guess, fermented grains. Barley water. Barley water was a tonic that was given to sick people to help strengthen them, a little bit like chicken broth today, chicken soup for the soul. And come with me, I will show you how to make it. Hello friends! So, I got everything ready to show you how to make barley water. And I'm tricking you, like those internet recipes that tell you it takes 2 minutes to make it, nothing more. I got everything ready. So here we have the juice of 2 lemons, the zest of 2 lemons, 3/4 cup of barley that's already rinsed and ready to go. And for the biblical touch, instead of honey, I'm using raisins, but the recipe that I will copy in the comments will have honey as date honey or regular bee honey. And then here I have the correct amount of water, and we will put all this into a pot and let it boil. Okay, so we brought this to a boil and then we let it simmer for 15 minutes, and this is what it looks like. And I have my containers ready and I'm gonna pour into them. And here, I even got a little bottle because I'm gonna get the CFYC staff to have a taste tomorrow. And if you opted for the honey sweetener, now would be a good time to add it and stir. Just the raisins, let's just see what it looks like under here. See, everything looks cooked. Most recipes say to discard the barley, but I think maybe it would. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't see why we couldn't eat it or use it in something else. So, just gonna pour all this now. Here, it's quite tangy and sweet and just perfect, and it'll be even better tomorrow when it's chilled in the fridge. Et voila, you have an ancient tonic that's going to give you a boost and rehydrate you. You can't go wrong. Enjoy!